Are you ready for some legacy? Here we go. Okay. All right, we want to get started. So thank you for being here, and let's begin. This is what we're going to do. We'll have a few welcome remarks. Welcome. There. Let's begin with a word of prayer. Gracious God, we give you thanks for all the ways you have blessed us. We pray for your blessing on us now as we hear more about the ways that we can offer ourselves in service to you and to our church and to our community. And we ask it all in the strong name of Jesus, our Lord. And all God's children say, amen. Okay, so we're going to hear from Olanda first, and then from Russ, and then Leif is going to tell us a little bit about where we are and where we've been and things like that. And then we'll take questions and answers, and off we go. So it is being recorded. Yes, so it is being recorded, and we will put it up on YouTube later. Yes, indeed. So here we go. So, Brother Carr.
Go on a roll, that's fine to say. I was asking Russ how long he wanted me to be. I didn't want to get on a roll and start doing it. And then everybody look at me and say, why is he still talking? So I will not be long, but what I will say is, hopefully, in the comments I made earlier during the service, that you took away that legacy is something that all of us should consider. I'll tell you a quick anecdote. Part of traveling around that territory that I mentioned, I find ways to occupy my time. So I joined a book club, and it's a book group of, I think, all retired folks and me. So it's a very interesting group out of my local presbytery, but I do a lot of audiobooks, and I was actually doing one earlier this morning. And one of the books that we chose in February, and I'm sure David would acknowledge this, sometimes you hear things and you're like, this is a really good sermon. And so the book that we chose for our February reading was How the Penguins Saved Veronica. And it's a very strange little book, but let me give you the premise of why I'm bringing it up. So Veronica was approaching her 85th birthday, and she had just a panic come over her because she had realized that she had no idea what to do with her estate. And she would stay up every night and frantic, she only had a housekeeper and she was estranged from her family, and she really didn't know what to do. And so she started watching this nature program that came on in the middle of the morning each night. And the nature program was about penguins. And so the more she watched the program, she realized, you know what? I think I'm going to give my estate to the penguins. And so the book has lots of twists and turns I will not tell you about in case you decide to read it. But I bring that up because of two things. For one, let's not be Veronica. Let's not be in a frenzy trying to figure out what to do with our estate and then turn to public access television to make that decision for us, right? But the second thing that I will reluctantly say that Veronica got right is that she was asking herself, what is important to me? And where does my passion lie? And what can I do to make a difference in this world? And that part of her discernment, I will be okay with. And so as you're listening to those that follow me today, think about that. Think about this wonderful church. Think about where your passion lies, maybe particular areas of ministry, and how you can make a difference. There are a variety of ways of how you can do that. And I do have some take-home literature for you. It's not all about financial and a named dollar amount, et cetera, but there are funds here that do really good work. And I think those that come after me will describe those to you. So without being threatened by Russ, is that good? Am I good now? Okay. All right. So thank you for allowing me to be here. And seriously, this is just an opening or a teaser, so to speak. I'm here. You can call me, email me, contact me if you have questions. I know sometimes this is a very confidential or sometimes a private matter, and it helps to have a stranger to kind of say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. More than happy to be that guy to bounce ideas off of. And if it gets above my head, I have colleagues at the foundation that I can direct you to as well. So thank you again for allowing me to be here.
Well, that didn't work. That's the video. But that's all right. Yeah. So I'll talk about the endowment program here at Catoctin Presbyterian Church, which, as you know, we've been working on for some time with Olanda Carr at the foundation and ultimately the session. All right. See if this works. There we go. So actually, okay, we got a problem here. Houston. Yeah.
How's that?
Perfect. Thank you. He should be on the technical team. So the Endowments and Legacy Gifts program is actually a framework for accepting and managing bequests, legacy gifts, and memorials. In fact, it's actually a 9-page policy. And it was developed with assistance, like, as I said, with the Presbyterian Foundation, and ultimately approved that session August 15th, 2019. It is designed to accept cash, stocks, bonds, mutual funds and equities, wills, trusts, insurance policies, and yes, real estate and properties. Again, I want to emphasize this program is separate and apart from annual budgeting, which we do here at Catoctin. And it's offering members and friends the ability to leave special gifts now and when they're no longer with us and in heaven. All right. Gotcha. All right. That's a difference between Macintosh and Windows. Sorry.
Well, it's a Zoom thing.
That's a
So
Zoom thing.
yeah, so it was in Zoom, and not in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Carry on. All right. All right. So I wanted to assure you that this is managed through the session, actually by the session through the Endowment Committee. In the policy, the Endowment Committee is appointed by session. 4 members are appointed for 3-year terms. The current members are Reg Jones, Leif Larsen, Connie Moore, and myself. What do? We educate. We educated the importance. We haven't really gotten out to you yet, but the importance of having a will or an estate plan so that you're in charge of what you want to do with what you leave behind. Also, and the importance of having this church named in some portion thereof. We also do consultation, which as folks, members and friends reach out to us wanting to leave a special gift, then we consult with them to ensure they understand the policies of our church and understand the mission and ministries, and we try to work with them to align that and so that it's a win for both sides of the equation. We are authorized, as I said, to receive, accept, transfer gifts of property by way of donation, gift, bequest, memorial, or device to be held, invested, and distributed in accordance with provisions of the policy. And reporting, yes, and so there's very strict reporting in the policy. Annually, we make a report to the session of the funds, of the balances, all the activity associated with it, and expenses thereof. All right. All right. The policy takes into account designation for restricted and non-restricted giving. And as you can see here, the rest of our current property endowment fund, which is named in the policy, is totally to support property. It is designated. It is designated for non-routine maintenance, defined as multi-year nature stuff like painting, roof repair, and all of the sorts of things it takes to keep this property moving. I will say that the reason that we put a named fund already in the policy, and it is of the property nature, is because the session and us looked at what it takes to maintain this church. And it's in this day and age, the cost of labor and materials associated, and also the age of our church, has put us in a position where this is astronomical, and it's no longer effective to raise money on an as-needs basis to do things. So that's the importance behind this property endowment fund. When you leave money there, you are ensuring that the session won't touch it and spend it somewhere else. It is only authorized for the restoration and preservation of the property. And as I spoke to the importance of this, we're just outgunned with having to try to raise money on an as-needs basis. The fund is invested in the new covenant funds, which is managed by the Presbyterian Foundation. It is socially responsible investing, and it is a mutual fund of low risk. The current fund we are invested in is the new Covenant Balanced Growth Fund. It is has a 5-year return history of about 8%. Sorry. So as you can see, using math, we have the advantage of compounding and multiplying and dividing. So our goal for this fund is by 2030 to achieve a balance of $500,000, and that will enable us to have some interest annually that we can expend on the property. And with that, I'll turn. I have one more thing to say. That's it. All right. Leif. I forgot the last line. I'm sorry. Yes, I am planning to give to this fund, and I encourage you. You are all invited to give. And as Olanda pointed out, and earlier in the service, you know, any amount is acceptable. There is no. It takes all of a village, right? So a couple dollars, whatever you have, is welcome into this fund. I forgot to mention the session has a challenge. We managed our funds wisely last year, and as I reported at the end of the year, we had some balances, savings left over, and we set aside $10,000 to be a challenge. We will use that $10,000 reserve and put it into the endowment fund if we get matching funds up to $10,000. So there you are, you're challenged. All right, Leif, good luck with this.
Before Leif gets up here, one slide to just throw some math at you here. So this is a graph of principal along the bottom and interest earned on the vertical there. And this is kind of how it works. Now, it's not quite even across the bottom. So this first section is divided into divisions of $5,000. So it goes 15, 20, 25, up to $50,000. So if we got to $50,000 here as the principal in the fund at a conservative 5% return, because as Russ said, it's running about 8% right now. So if we imagine 5% even, then that gets us to $2,500 in interest a year that we would be getting back that we can spend on the building. So then the next section here is $10,000 increments. So 60, 70, 80, up to $150,000. If we got $150,000 into the account, that would get us $7,500 a year that we could spend on restoration, renewal, and upkeep, and all the important things. That's about how much we budget for regular maintenance every year. So we wouldn't use it for regular maintenance, but it would be equivalent. Then the next section is $50,000 increments. So 200,000, 250, 300, up to $500,000. And then just rounded it up to at $100,000 increments there to get us up to $1 million, because why not? And so if we got to, when we get to our goal of $500,000, we can expect a return of $25,000 a year to put into maintaining, upgrading the building, which would be incredible. And so Leif is going to tell us a little bit about how we might spend money like that. Is that what you're going to tell us? Yeah. And you know, the fact that we're meeting in here because the air conditioning isn't working out there. Yeah.
One point I forgot to mention, now that he brings up the hockey stick slide here, is the $25,000 a year would have come in real handy last year, because we spent $25,000 last year upgrading demands and all of it, and he'll talk about this. So as you can see, having that money that was set aside in the This Old Church Fund really paid off. And that's the idea here. Yes, Levin.
How far away are we?
What button? Any button.
That's where we go.
We're right at about $18,000.
So we've already matched.
Yeah. No, what happened is we initially put a deposit last year into this account of $12,000. It appreciated and gave us dividends and interest, and we collected some money from some donors thus far. So that we are a balance of 18,000, but our challenge is we want to get 10,000 at least this year on top of that. Yeah. And again, Leif will talk to this a little bit more about the property, but it's also think of this as not only preservation and restoration, but enhancement as our ministries change.
Yeah, let me talk about the property. You know, I've been doing this for a little over a year since Steve died, and it's really been a pleasure to do it. I'm retired now, and I come over here, you know, in the daytime, and nobody's here, and I look up at that stained glass window, and I look at that one. I still haven't figured out why that's so bright all the time, even when the sun's out there, you know. But we got a really neat church, but we've got a neat property too. The manse, you could have a family of 6 living in there easily. That is a nice building, really is. And the fellowship hall, man, that meets a lot of needs with the basement and the upstairs. We got 2 libraries, really, you know, and it's been fun. The bad part of my job is getting estimates, right? And then telling somebody that we took the other guy's estimate, you know, that's never any fun. I read an article that we homeowners should save 5% of the value of our house every year. Some of it for annual and preventive maintenance, and the rest to build up so that we can pay for those surprises, like the heat pump that we put into the manse, $8 grand about. Jeff Bean saved us a little money on that because he could do some electrical stuff, and he's saving us a lot of money on keeping this air conditioning going. I can tell you that too. A lot of the gifts and memorials have been for property, mainly the sanctuary and the church itself. And that's been special. I think on, how do I do this? Whoops, did you get my slide on there? Oh, okay. Yeah, I did it late. The gifts and memorials we've received in the past go everywhere, everything from that hitching post and the sign out front to those doors going into the fellowship hall, carpeting, windows way, way, way back probably. And now we've got an estimate to, what we'd say, update them, upgrade them so that they are preventive maintenance and they have new plexiglass on the outside so that people could actually see how beautiful they are. And that. But things like the baptismal font, where is it? Oh, there it is, that we just used today, and you know, carpeting, pew pads, and all those kind of things that need to be replaced occasionally and everything. But we do have future needs, and of course, one of the biggest ones that we're worried about are the air conditioning units, 6 of them that we have out there that, like I said, Jeff Bean has been, you know, bubble gum and duct tape, keeping those things going. And he's been incredible. I don't know how he does it. We think about preserving and making the church and fellowship hall better so that it can be more of a community center, so it can be more flexible and all. This is a beautiful church, and it's special to all of us, I think. And yet we, the people, are the church, right? We shouldn't be thinking about buildings so much, but what did they build in the old days? Those big cathedrals and all, and they became a special thing in every community and through the ages. And this one is too, and we want to keep it this way, and I think we can. So we have things that we could spend money on easily right now, and that we're saving and doing the things that we think probably need to be done soon. One of them is that entrance to the church right out there that we use that side, and we've got some estimates in the works. You know, I read somewhere where that the small gifts add up to be more than big gifts. I guess because those sort of keep coming in regularly, and the big gifts maybe once every however many years. You know, so we should really think about that part. You know, sometimes just the small things can really make a difference. Plus, it gets people involved. You know, I gave some money and that happened. That fix occurred and all those kind of things. So I think these legacy gifts are going to make a huge difference for our church. the gifts and memorials have in the past, and the way we're going to be doing it now, heading into the future, I think is going to be really, really important for our kids and grandkids and for this church and community. Thank you.
Q&A. So we're going to do questions. Q&A. You know, one anecdote here that this all got started somewhere in 2018 when somewhere in 2018 I was thinking, and I had this vision of Lainey McIntosh on session 20 years from now, twiddling her thumbs, wondering how in the heck they were going to pay for the whatever that was falling apart. And that was the flash of lightning that started this whole avalanche to create this program and policy. Was that, wouldn't it be wonderful for our future generations to come that we leave it in a better place, that they can worry and not worry, but they can focus on ministry and not have to be biting their fingernails off about how to pay for fixing something. So that was the.
Well, and Russ, it works. It works because I know that when I was on session before, we started this old church fund. And this old church fund, without it, we'd have been up the proverbial, you know what creek. Okay, so we know it works. This has got to work better than even this old church fund. Okay, but you know, everybody contributing a little to it makes such a huge difference.
And I do want to also emphasize again that when you're thinking about your will and your estate plan and insurance policy or whatever, and you have a passion about some of the ministries here, you can designate something with that financial resource. You can, the policy allows the committee to focus in and work on that and work with you to put that in place. Yes, sir.
Working on the small gifts thing rather than the big gifts thing. I think everybody in their life has got income and already some of it's spoken for. Whether it's rent, house payments, or whatever, or insurance, and it's automatic, and you work off of what's left. And there's nothing you can do about the other part of it, it's gone. It's all taken care of. So you've got a new life based on what's left over. You could do the same thing here. You could say, I'm going to give $5 a month to this fund. It's going to be every month from now on, $5, plus I change. And once you've adapted to the absence of $5, you'll never know it's gone. And yet it will be feeding into the system. And that's why the small gift thing, if it's continuous, is more effective than, okay, I'll give $250. I'm done now. Forever. I've given it.
But that works too.
That's one way, like you've been saying, one way that works. It's the tithes that the widow is giving that make the difference.
Absolutely.
I think that's the proper area of this one, like Substack, or you can look at Substack.
Yeah.
Online subscriptions are right along, whatever. And you subscribe like $5 a month. I subscribe like maybe not. Sure, I'm subscribed to free. And I'm kind of a freeloader on a couple of bucks. I mean, but if you get 1,000 people subscribing for $5 a month,
That's why one of the pluses that make it all go on every time we met is you don't have to go out and get a big bunch of money once. A little amount of money continuously as a stream for more people that they do not miss. And yet it builds up the fund astonishingly.
Almost like you could go to Starbucks a few less times a month and dedicate that money.
Leif.
I got a question for you. Olanda,
There you go.
can we do it? We're a small church. I'm not getting big. Now, we're thinking too big.
Oh, not at all, not at all. In fact, most of, I would say most, a large percentage of the churches I work with successful programs like this are my smaller congregations. Because exactly what we're describing, it doesn't take much in terms of generosity and investing well before it really makes a difference. And so it's getting your members to think about it. The other half is what we talked about today, maybe some state plan or insurance policy, retirement accounts, those types of things. We carve out maybe 5 or 10% of those. And often we are more affluent and the afterlife than we are in the current because of our policies and things being a little bit higher value here. So that's an option. So yeah, absolutely. I think every church should have some growth, whether it's $5 a month or whatever. I think that's a great way.
What we found out over the years that we have a very generous congregation. When the chips are down and we need to fundraise for something, it shows up.
Right.
And it's the same with mission now. We've been on a very high degree of mission work that takes us away from this church really and puts it into a lot of our partners out in the community. And we find the same is true there. So we're starting off not behind the 8 ball, but we are starting off in a relatively good position.
We're moving to a point where something occurs and we do it and it's over.
Yeah.
I still remember that people didn't believe it would work. I said, we need hymnals for the church. The old hymnals that we borrowed and stole and whatever. These get replaced. And I remember the music director at the time said, no, no. We got not only enough for every single pew, about 25 more. But that's one time, so we did that. And then we came to, we don't have air conditioning in the church. For those who've been around, who remember what it would have been like on a day like this. And we said, we need air conditioning. And it happened. The money came in and we did it. Now we're freezing.
If I could add, that really goes to the importance of really talking about it. And that's why we have designated Sundays and minutes for mission, that type of thing. A lot of it is the communication. And truthfully speaking, other churches have actually said exactly what this guy said. Donate a cup of coffee. I have had churches do that. And whether they connect with the annual stewardship or a legacy program or what have you, it's really in very basic, clear terms. Because that's true, right? Starbucks is pretty expensive these days. So that's going to get you $5. And so there are ways definitely to make it, more palatable for members to consider. So definitely talk about it. I know we've been having this conversation about how to have recurring events like this, not every Sunday, of course, but have enough of them so folks know about it, incorporate it into their annual stewardship messaging, that type of thing.
Every chance I get, a great job.
And the question is, Shante and I want to put in our will 10% for the church. How do we communicate that?
You just did. It's simple. You can contact any member. You contact any member on the endowment committee and say, we want to discuss a contribution or a gift. And then from there, we follow up with you to work out the details. But and we encourage you to structure that with your lawyer. Yeah, and how to put us in that.
And excellent question, and what you think we should consider, what a lot of congregations do is, say during your annual pledge campaign, or something of that nature, just have a little box. Have you listed the church in your state or something like that? Because truthfully speaking, you can do that without really telling them. Right, so I think that's kind of not a good question. So, right, and so basically, so just putting that out there. There are other ways to do it, not in the car, license plate or whatever. It's not have place the church in my state. The church show. Because many will do that. And sometimes going back to your question, often churches get surprised because someone has named them. And they'll just get a letter one day from the Lord, which again, will take, in terms of churches having to get it. But, sometimes they don't.
We do have our website. We're also going to put it on our website, and it's a work in progress. We're going to have a legacy section, as Olanda talked about, where somebody can check, and that will give us an indication of who you need to reach out to. Any other questions?
Thank you for coming, Chair. Really appreciate it.
It's 2 documents. One will give you just ways to consider. We had one real life example of how to do it. It will actually say the percentage of your will, residual amount, named amount, those types of things. If you're composing a legacy document. And the other document, steps, just kind of breaks down in terms of the processes.
Well done, guys.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I was coming in early and trying to work right in here. I enjoy work service.
All right. Any other questions?
So the idea is to hit 500,000 by 2030. So if from that, we're looking at about $60,000 per year. And then we'll just seek to constantly educate.
Yep. Yeah, well, we'll be, yeah, we'll put this, the video up on our YouTube and on our website, so people can access it whenever. And there was supposed to be a video. Wasn't it? It didn't happen. And I'm sorry I didn't get your slides. So, yeah.
Or I will. I can't see her.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find your slide real quick. There it is. Yeah, yeah. All right, well,
But we technically could use funds or endowments for something like upgrading the kitchen, or is it solely for dire need? That's property. That's property, sure. I just didn't know if it was dire need, like, the roof is leaking, like stuff like that.
The idea is, well, we broke some place, we need to buy some place that you won't use this fund. No, that's just regular, right, things you regularly need to pay the cost. Purpose of this fund is to build up enough money to be able to undertake things that you wouldn't be able to do, but advance the welfare of this institution and even expand it without having to say, but we want to expand it, so we want to
Make up commercial kitchen.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that would open up more opportunities.
right. So when we get to higher up on that hockey stick, and then we're getting a good, getting a bigger chunk, then you know, if we have some idea, like air conditioning is going to be $100,000, what can we do? Take that interest for, like, just set it aside for 4 years.
Yes, the policy allows us to, the committee to manage setting aside
Yeah. So if we don't have anything that's going to be an item that we need, then we just put that back into the principal and build the principal. But if we know there's something coming, then set it aside and say, okay, now we can go.
I do remember, I was with the old Presbyterian meeting house, which is, as the structure's a good deal older than this one, that different groups of people have different interests. For example, the choir, which was a lot bigger than our choir, but it did the same thing. The choir sees that there's a problem with the piano. It's very likely to take over the responsibility for that, separate from the fund we're talking about here. The same thing goes for other groups that have special interest in parts of it. And whether it's the preschool or whatever, those people will rally around that and make that happen. This money is to avoid these things when we get these hiccups. And we're not going to have any of this. Oh, that broke down. We won't have. Oh, we have to shut down because we don't water anymore. Whatever. These are the ones you want to be able to. We have saved up the money here to take on that project. Probably really what's going on.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And thank you again, Olanda, for coming all this way and sharing with us. We will, of course, be in contact. And thank you to the Endowment Committee for all their work. And thank you all for being present to listen to this and to give it prayerful consideration how you can be a part of this project. So as we head out, be of good cheer, render to no one evil for evil, all those things, love and serve the Lord, rejoicing in the power of the Holy Spirit. Thanks be to God. All right, grace and peace, everybody. We're done.
Thank you.